Fantasy football, quarterbacks, starts, sits, and waiver plays. We're talking streams. We're talking late week waiver plays here. I'm going to go game by game, talking position by position. Make sure you check out the running backs, wide receivers, and tight end segments. Also, please, if you're joining this network for the first time, please like, please comment, please subscribe. All that stuff helps quite a lot. So I'm going to be running through my starts and sits for the quarterbacks. Game by game, here we go. Thursday night football, Miami Dolphins versus Jacksonville Jaguars. Ryan Fitzpatrick, I have a sit grade. I have maybe one touchdown pass for Mr. Fitzpatrick. I think he can do a lot better. I know Fitzpatrick, I think he was a top 10 quarterback last week. I know he has value week to week, but for me, this week is not the week to start him. Jacksonville, though, I think we're getting pretty close to Gardner Minshew starting every week. I've been saying this, but if you're new to the network, this will be new to you. But Gardner Minshew, look, I know he's a sixth-round pick. A lot of people think he's just a mustache and a lot of public relations and PR and all that stuff. He's a legit quarterback. He uses his legs more than you think he does. He has now a wider arsenal of weapons. I love the addition of Tyler Eifert to this team. James Robinson runs like a beast. I love him. Laviska Shenault is a Swiss Army knife for there. You can run, you can pass. And then not only that, but you have DJ Chark, who Gardner Minshew throws, loves, has great chemistry with, and everything. So Gardner Minshew for me is a start. I actually, my pick engine, my computer analytics actually say Gardner Minshew could be the fourth-ranked quarterback this week. I have a multiple touchdown grade on him. I love the offensive system. It's great for quarterbacks. It has always produced starting quarterbacks. So Gardner Minshew, I would definitely, by the way, pull him off of waivers because he's still available in a lot of leagues. Okay, Chicago versus Atlanta. Mitchell Trubisky this week is a start for me. He's playing an Atlanta defense that is struggling. He also uses his legs. That's big in fantasy football. It's big in daily fantasy. He actually might be, along with Gardner Minshew, my favorite daily fantasy sleeper of the week. He is available for everybody off of waivers right now. If you're hurting at quarterback, which most of you aren't, I recognize that. At this stage in the season, the quarterbacks, knock on wood, are still healthy. But Mitchell Trubisky is a guy that could have season-long value. I know it's crazy to say, but if you're in a super flex league, he might be out on waivers for you, which is kind of nuts. But, he's somebody you should probably be taking a flyer on at this point. He's a buy low candidate, and, he could help you out quite a bit. Now, Atlanta, Matt Ryan, at this point, he's kind of on the verge of being a weekly start, especially when you have Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley to throw to, not to mention Russell Gage and Hayden Hurst. But I don't love the matchup for Atlanta this week. If you have Matt Ryan and you kind of go between two quarterbacks, this might be the week for you. Mitchell Trubisky, I actually have outscoring Matt Ryan based on rushing yardage. And let's remember, the Chicago Bears defense, this isn't 2019 where everybody was high on him and they didn't meet the hype. This is 2020. They're better this year than they were last year. It's an interesting matchup. I wanted to kind of delve into this analytically. I didn't get a chance to this week. But Chicago's defense is good. That's the moral of the story here. I have Matt Ryan. I mean, he's a mid-grade starter. I have him ranked as the 14th quarterback in terms of computer projections. He'll get 2 touchdown passes. I think you can lock that in every week. But I don't think this is the week where we're going to see about 40 points from Atlanta. But it's a good test for Chicago's defense, and we'll get some more answers after this. Cincinnati versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia's defense is reeling right now. They're pretty solid still against the run, at least in terms of yards per carry average. But the passing defense just isn't there yet. They let the Washington football team come back on them. We saw what happened with the Rams last week and Tyler Higbee. They're vulnerable in a few spots. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow in his second NFL start had 61 passing attempts, which I think is a little ridiculous. But what do we know about Zach Taylor at this point? Yes, he has Joe Mixon, but he'll generally gravitate towards the pass if he has that opportunity. I don't think that 61 yards was a fluke. 61 passing attempts was a fluke for Joe Burrow. I do think he will get better and better, and he's better with his legs than you would think he'd be as well. He's still acclimating to the NFL game. And what do? You scramble around, and he's good enough to scramble, especially when you have all the receivers going downfield. A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, Higgins, Ross. Anybody who's in there is going downfield. Burrow has a lot of room to run. So I like him. I don't love him this week. I think he's a bottom grade starter. I think I have him ranked as 12th. I think he'll get 2 touchdown passes this week, or maybe a touchdown pass and a run or something like that. He'll find the end zone. You might be able to do better off of waivers like a Gardner Minshew I actually have as a higher projection. But Joe Burrow long-term, if he's available on the waivers, you need to snap him up, especially with this arsenal of receivers he has. Now, Philadelphia, Carson Wentz. The Philadelphia Eagles offense, they are dying for some help on the outside. I saw last week the Rams, basically their game plan was to take away Goddard, take their chances with Ertz. Now, is that going to be the case every week? I think that the defenses will basically focus on the tight ends. That's what this offense is. Miles Sanders is going to have to start churning up yardage on the ground. And I actually, I hate to say it, but Philadelphia needs Alshon Jeffrey back, so they have somebody in the possession on the outside so that the middle of the field opens back up. I'm a believer in Carson Wentz. I'm a believer that the Eagles will be a factor, but I want to see it on the field. I'm not going to keep betting on them in fantasy until they start proving results, so I'm going to stay away from them this week. Houston versus Pittsburgh. Deshaun Watson, for me, every week is your starter. You probably drafted him in the 5th round or earlier if you have him, so I recognize you'll play him. Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger, I think he's going to beat my low projection. Now, they're not as sharp, the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. They're not as sharp as they will be by the end of the year. I'm a big buyer on Roethlisberger. If he's available on waivers, he shouldn't be, but if he is, you should snap him up. He's got Deontay Johnson. He's got Juju Smith-Schuster. He's got James Washington. He's got Chase Claypool, and he's got James Conner out of the backfield. They're just going to be really good all year long. Even when they're rusty, Ben Roethlisberger has value. So I think you can start him if you want to. I only have him in terms of computer projections getting into the end zone, throwing 2 touchdown passes, which is this particular week, not that great, nothing to write home about. But again, I think he's going to outperform this projection. Los Angeles Rams versus the Buffalo Bills. Jared Goff, I think, has a tough week. We know the Buffalo Bills defense is strong. They didn't play, in my opinion, up to their standard against the Miami Dolphins, but this is not the week for me to bet on Goff. I just think it's going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game. Josh Allen, though, based on his ability to run, and he's throwing dimes deep down the field, Buffalo is going to give the Rams their defense's toughest test of the season thus far offensively. They are a legit offense. Josh Allen is a legit top 10 quarterback. I have Josh Allen ranked as the number 7 quarterback this week, getting 2 touchdowns for sure, possibly 2 rushing touchdowns as well. So that gives him a boost, as everybody knows. Jared Goff, like I said, he's a sit. Maybe 1 touchdown pass this week is my projection. So I focus on the running game for the Rams, not the passing game. San Francisco versus the New York Giants. If Jimmy Garoppolo plays or if Mullins plays, either way, I have them at about mid-league 17. So in Superflex, you can play. In daily fantasy, I would not buy. I think you can do way better like a Trubisky or Minshew in terms of daily fantasy. Plus, they're banged up. We know about the receivers. I have a feeling that the 49ers will go 2 tight end this week and probably play a little bit more of that, what we've been seeing from Philadelphia, honestly, in their offensive system. When Deebo Samuel comes back, it'll add another dimension. I don't like that Mostert's not going to play. Coleman's out. McKinnon I do like. We'll talk about him in the running back segment. And then maybe Jeff Wilson as well. I like him. But, yeah, quarterback, I'm staying away in San Francisco until things settle down, but they will. San Francisco's a good team. New York Giants, we'll see what happens there. I mean, the loss of Saquon Barkley kind of deflated the offense. I am a believer in the Daniel Jones to Darius Slayton combination. Are they going to go spread? I have a feeling that while Devontae Freeman kind of works his way into action, I think it'll be more of a running back split. Again, we'll talk about that with the running back segment. But while that's happening, I feel like Garrett is going to have to rely on Daniel Jones. I think he's going to have to rely on him to basically run a spread offense. So I actually think the receiving game and the passing game, the numbers improve. I have Daniel Jones projected as a 60, which is the 16, which is the 25th ranked projection for me at quarterback. But again, by necessity, I think he's going to outperform that. So maybe a daily fantasy sleeper, but I wouldn't do much else. Washington versus Cleveland. Dwayne Haskins, I'm sorry, I'm a sit every week on him. I'm looking at the value he gives fantasy owners is what he's going to do. He's going to isolate Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas all season, although this week we have an analytic matchup with Steven Sims, who's questionable if he plays. He could find the end zone. Cleveland, Baker Mayfield. I think this is going to be Cleveland running against Washington's offensive line and a lot of deep shots to Odell Beckham. I think that's the recipe for success for Cleveland this week. Baker Mayfield I have ranked as the 13th top quarterback, so if you're in Superflex, I say start him. You can do better elsewhere if you're looking for somebody off the bench or off of waivers. Carolina versus the Chargers. Bridgewater, I didn't like what I saw from him. Now the injury to Christian McCaffrey, same kind of thing like I was saying with Daniel Jones, should get an uptick. He still has Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore to throw to. Is this the game where he starts to throw touchdown passes? Frankly, it should be. But again, I'm kind of a wait and see on that. I want to see him prove it on the field. The Chargers, Herbert's getting his second start. I think Herbert I don't have a great projection. His computer projection is ranked 31st in the league, which is awful, but he is the real deal. I was very impressed with what he did. I think if he had had a full week of practice prior to Kansas City, I think that the Chargers would have won that game. Having this full week, Keenan Allen has new life. Austin Eckler out of the backfield has new life. Mike Williams on the outside, I think he's going to have some deep balls thrown in his direction. I like Herbert in daily fantasy. I'm not going to play him in my fantasy league. Daily fantasy, I like him. Snap him up off of waivers if you can, because I think he's going to be really good. The problem is there's a little bit of murkiness there with Tyrod Taylor. Is he going to be the starter? We'll see. New York Jets versus Indianapolis Colts. Sorry, Darnold's a perpetual sit for me. I'm not playing him in any format. I don't care. Indianapolis, Phillip Rivers, he's moving the ball, but he's turning the ball over. Because of those turnovers, I have him as a mid-grade. I mean, he's going to get passing yardage. The injury to Paris Campbell doesn't help, but I think T.Y. Hilton has a nice game. I think Zach Pascal will be fine. But again, you can do better off of waivers this week. Superflex, you can give him a start, but he's nothing to write home about this week. Dallas versus Seattle. Look, I love both of these teams' offenses. Seattle's secondary is pretty good, but I do think Dak Prescott will be able to run the ball, push the ball and get points because of his ability to run. I have Dak Prescott projected as the top overall quarterback this week, which is nuts. He has a 4-touchdown grade against the Seattle Seahawks. In reality, I think he's probably going to play a little bit lower. My computers will like him a lot more than I do, but he's a definite start. That's what I'm saying. Take that away. Russell Wilson, meanwhile, I have him projected as the 5th-ranked quarterback, also with a 4-touchdown designation for him. So I think he's worth the daily fantasy play. Honestly, I mean, through 2 games, he's on pace for 72 touchdown passes, so he's doing okay. Detroit versus Arizona. Matthew Stafford. I don't love the matchup, but that changes if Golladay plays, who's questionable at this point. If Golladay plays, then suddenly you have Marvin Jones and Golladay on the outside. Swift, I love out of the backfield as kind of a third down back. You still have Amendola, you still have Hawkinson. I like his weapons actually this week if Golladay plays, so I think he'll exceed that projection and is a good daily fantasy play. Arizona, Kyler Murray, perpetual start. I have Kyler Murray with 3 touchdowns, but a lot of rushing yardage against Detroit. So I have him as a start grade. Absolutely. I mean, come on. You got to start him. He's playing some really good football. He's ranked 3rd overall in terms of quarterbacks for me this week. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. Denver, Jeff Driscoll. Driscoll is a sit. The Bucs defense is a lot better than they were last year. The addition of Winfield Jr. to their secondary has made a huge difference. Driscoll, I don't think, takes you away too much from what Drew Lock can produce on the field, just given where they are in their career. And Driscoll will run a little bit more than you think he would. But, losing Cortland Sutton, I hate that for the Denver Broncos. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, I have him as a mid-grade starter, but I think this is the week that he starts to string it together. Frankly, there were too many drops last week. Brady was throwing the ball really well. LaShawn McCoy in the end zone, inexcusable drop, my goodness. But, I think Godwin will be back this week. Then you have Evans. He's throwing the ball better. And I think Tampa Bay's running the ball better. I don't know what's going to happen with Ronald Jones and Fournette, but either way, I think this running game will be able to support the passing game. So I actually am bullish on Tom Brady, even though my computer projections don't love him. 2 games left here. Green Bay Packers versus New Orleans Saints. I'm a start on Aaron Rodgers. I think the Saints will do well against Aaron Jones to slow him down. The Saints' run defense is good. You saw it actually against the Las Vegas Raiders last week. Jacobs, even though he was running strong in the 4th quarter, he only got like 3.3 yards per carry. It's going to be tough for Green Bay to find room. They will stick with that run, but the benefit for Green Bay and that the matchups are going to be in the secondary. New Orleans has talent back there. I know Devontae Adams is banged up with that hamstring, but I believe that Aaron Rodgers will be a start this week, and I think he'll get 3 touchdown passes. New Orleans, Drew Brees did not play well last week. The offense is inefficient. The penalty yardage, New Orleans is awful, which means they're completely undisciplined. They're just not crisp, but it's New Orleans. They're going to be back at some point. I like Brees a lot more if Thomas can play. We'll see what happens as the week goes on. But I have him as a mid-grade starting destination, so I think he can do better. Patrick Mahomes, I don't have as a great projection. That's really because my computers are really respecting Baltimore's defense. That said, it's Patrick freaking Mahomes. Start him, okay? I only have him throwing for 2 touchdowns this week, which is a lot against Baltimore's defense, in my opinion. But, Kansas City was flat. The Chargers did good. I think this offense is going to come out really focused and ready to go. Plus, They're playing the Baltimore Ravens. This is a huge matchup. Lamar Jackson, I do have as a nice start regardless analytically, and of course you start Lamar Jackson every week anyway. I have him getting into the ends or throwing 2 touchdown passes, but also getting a healthy amount of rushing yardage. Now, people off the waivers, if you're looking for a waiver wire start, if you're really struggling at quarterback and you're worried, there are 2 quarterbacks that I think can help you season long. Analytically, before the season, my computer projections had these guys in about the 10 to 12 range season long. We're seeing it on the field already. Ryan Tannehill, Gardner Minshew, they should be rostered in every league, in every format. If they're available for you, pick them up. I love their projections, season long, but I love their projections this week as well. And in daily fantasy, if you can still get these guys at a bargain, I think they're worth it. Now, in terms of just this week plays, maybe not necessarily season long like the first 2, Mitch Trubisky and Joe Burrow, I have as nice grades for both of these guys. Trubisky, I think more because of the legs and then also the matchup. He's playing the Atlanta Falcons. And then Joe Burrow, just the amount of volume that this offense gives to quarterbacks to throw, that's one thing. And Joe Burrow is also pretty quick. And, they can run. He scored on a QB draw against Cleveland. This first week against the Chargers, they only really moved the ball when he started running in the fourth quarter. I think that was coinciding with the Chargers playing a little bit of prevent as well, or at least loosening up their coverages. But either way, Burrow is growing as a quarterback, and he has weapons. So I do like him season long, but in this particular week, if you're looking for a stream play and you strike out on Tannehill and Minshew, Burrow is a good one for me this week. So that wraps it up for the quarterbacks. Like I said, please like, comment, subscribe. We're going to be moving it over to running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends, so keep an eye out for those videos as well, and we'll catch you next time.